Christian McCaffrey at 1. There's not really too much of a discussion to be had. The only argument you can have against him is that calf injury that kind of has come up as a nagging injury during training camp. But I'm not drafting with the assumption that CMC is going to go down or be injured. I think that's kind of a lazy take. And the thing is, if he does play the whole year, which I'm assuming he will, I mean, he was averaging 24.5 points per game last year. That was more points than Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts. So the positional advantage he gives you is unreal. You have to take him at the one-on-one, in my opinion. And if not, he's at least the running back 1. Now at RB2, I'm going to have Bijan Robinson. And I think you can make the argument for Breece Hall as well. But the thing with Bijan is, I think he's the more talented player on a slightly safer and better Falcons offense. Now, the reason I say he's more talented is because just watching him last year, I think he was a little bit more explosive, a bit better of a true pass catcher than Breece Hall. I think Breece Hall benefited more from some of these dump-offs. Plus, if you want to look at draft capital, Bijan was a top 10 guy. Breece was a second-round pick. Not saying that's right, but that's just a determining factor that the NFL gave us as well. Now, we look at Robinson, who was pretty disappointing last year. 14.5 points per game, but he was still second among running backs with 200 carries and yards created per attempt, 3.82. It was a matter of Arthur Smith not utilizing him correctly, the offense being terrible as a whole. Now, Arthur Smith is gone. The offense is a lot better. You have Kirk Cousins coming in. You have Kyle Pitts hopefully breaking out now that he is back from a little bit of a nagging injury as well, and just a better quarterback situation overall. You have Drake London here, so I think there's a lot more talent with the Falcons overall with London and Pitts versus Breece Hall. You have Garrett Wilson, and outside that, it's a little unstable. Now, the thing with the Jets as well is you have Aaron Rodgers, who's coming off that Achilles injury at 41 years old. Now, I'm not projecting him to be, a bum, but I'm not saying he's going to be amazing either. So there's a little risk there. The same thing can be said for Kirk Cousins. The thing there is he's 36 years old. He's a lot younger. Plus, they have a backup plan in Michael Penix, who I'm super high in as well. So that's why I said the situation's a little better. That's why I say it's a little more safer, because they have a backup plan. I'm just a little scared that the checkdowns will come down because Rodgers will be pushing the ball down the field to Garrett Wilson a little more. But overall, I don't really think you can go wrong with Bijan or Breece. They're back-to-back in my overall rankings. Now at 4, I have Jahmyr Gibbs, and that's based on the pure principle that I think Dave Montgomery is not going to be very good this year. Now, if you look at the end of last year where Montgomery was great, Gibbs wasn't that good, but after week 10, Montgomery went down and you saw Gibbs emerge. After week 10, when Montgomery was fully healthy, but Gibbs had that time to develop and get into that offense with the bye week, Gibbs actually saw 51% of the snaps in the goal line, which isn't, you're saying that's close to a 50-50 split, but people are kind of making out to be that Montgomery's getting all that work. And I think that's just a product of Gibbs learning the offense more, getting more involved. And I think Gibbs should see a more than 50% of the red zone snaps as well, because it gives them another aspect of versatility. Montgomery is just going to be on there. He's not a very good pass catcher. It just limits the things the Lions can do on offense. Versus Gibbs, he can still hit that hole very well. He can be used in the pass catching game. So I think they'd much rather have him out there, even in the red zone. And Montgomery, I think he will be a good NFL back, because they'll put him in between the 20s to pick up those 3-4 yard meaningless carries, but it's not going to actually translate to fantasy points where you have Jahmyr Gibbs catching the ball a ton during the season. So at 5, though, we are going to have Jonathan Taylor. I'm really just high on the talent. Again, a few years ago, he was going as the 101. He was the running back 1. Now, he's finally back from injury. He has a decent running situation because Anthony Richardson, while he will take away some rushing touchdowns, he's also going to allow Taylor to be a lot more efficient, because when he goes to hand the ball off, the linebackers have to key in on Richardson pulling it as well. So I think that will kind of offset itself. Taylor's just a fine pass catcher. I don't think the offense is really going to throw the ball a ton, because Richardson may not allow them to. And they have Shane Steichen, who has expressed his willingness to run the football with the Eagles and now Taylor is probably the best running back talent. I mean, really, he clearly is, that Steichen has ever worked with. So expect them to pound the rock a ton. At 6, though, I am going to have Saquon Barkley. Again, phenomenal talent. Just there's too many red flags versus Taylor, where Barkley, he's 27, has had a few injuries in the past. His big years came when he was the clear number 1 target, getting every reception. I believe he had about 140 targets with the Giants those first few years, which is when he was amazing in fantasy. Since then, he hasn't been as good, and now he's playing with A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, even Jahan Dotson, Dallas Goedert. So while those, other 2 players outside of Smith and Brown aren't going to be elite target getters, it's something to keep in mind because also Jalen Hurts, well, I think they will use Barkley down the field as a pass catcher. He's not really going to check the ball down because unlike the Giants when he was playing with like Eli Manning and all that good stuff, Saquon Barkley doesn't need to get the ball when the pocket's collapsing. Jalen Hurts can do just fine tucking and running himself. So it's going to be a little less checkdowns. There is some injury risk. I'm not over the moon about Saquon, but I definitely don't hate him, and I don't think that you can rank him any lower than this. Now at 7, though, we are going to have Kyren, and it kind of just comes down to the fact that let's not overthink this. While, yes, he has been banged up, it makes sense that the Rams brought in Blake Corum. They've talked about that Corum is basically a premium handcuff ad nauseum, and we're still trying to convince ourselves that Corum is going to split the backfield. It's not going to happen. Worst case scenario, it'll be about 30%, and Kyren will be able to play more games then. Let's just not overthink it. Let's take the guy that was a league winner last year. He's still young. He's still in a good offense. You have Matthew Stafford at the helm, a very good quarterback. You have Sean McVay, a fantastic head coach. I'm just not overthinking it. I don't mind actually handcuffing him a Corum later in the rounds the more I think of it. But again, when Kyren's on the field, he is just a fantastic player and can easily finish as a top 5 running back if he stays healthy. Now, after Kyren, we're going to go with Etienne, and he's kind of just that bell cow profile. He's not the most explosive or exciting back anymore, but he was fantastic the first half of the year last season. And a lot of that relies on touchdowns, but a lot of that also comes because the Jaguars' offense was very good. Now, Trevor Lawrence went down, and the season kind of went with it, which killed Etienne's second half. He was still fine, but definitely not the same player. I'm betting on T-Law to stay healthy. I'm thinking that the Jaguars will even get a little bit better. I think Lawrence is still young, and while I'm not sure he's ever going to reach that superstar level, I think he will show that he is a star, good quarterback next season, which will in turn take Travis Etienne to the next level. And I'm not worried about Tank Bigsby. Again, he might have a minor grinder role, taking those meaningless carries at best, but nothing I'm too concerned about. At 9, though, we are going to have Derrick Henry, who's on the Ravens, and really the main argument is the age cliff. We've never seen anyone this old, be super, super productive for the most part. But again, we haven't really seen anyone like Derrick Henry. I mean, the Ravens just ran the ball the most in the NFL, 31.5 rushing attempts per game. And Henry did see a slight decline in production, 4.4 to 4.2 yards per carry. Leaves me a little worrisome, but you have to remember the offense was so bad. I expect the Ravens and Lamar Jackson being a better overall offense to actually help his efficiency go up, even if Jackson does vulture some of those rushing touchdowns. Now he's going to be in the red zone a lot more. He could have a monster touchdown season, which propels players to great fantasy seasons. Now at 10, we are going to have Devon Achane. I broke him down on the FTR film channel. Check out Fantasy Trading Room on that video, but he's super explosive. I think he has a 3-down level skill set. Even if he is a smaller back, he's a good pass catcher. Seems like the Dolphins want to utilize him more in that space. He's good in between the tackles. He has fantastic burst. He's not just a one-trick pony, and while his efficiency probably will drop a bit, I'm just not sold on Raheem Mostert either. Now, Raheem Mostert is entering his age 33 year, and he has never been able to stay healthy until these last 2 years. So you're telling me that now that he's 33, now that he's finally getting up there, this is when he's going to be the most efficient of his career. This is when he's going to stay healthy. I'm not buying it. I think Achane is going to be the clear talent. And as long as he stays healthy, which I think having another year in the NFL to bulk up, get under that NFL training program strength regime is going to be super helpful. And I'm expecting a big year. Again, I just really want to shoot for upside in this range. And Achane can clearly be the running back 1 overall, where I'm not sure Etienne or some of those other guys even have as close of a shot. Or with Etienne, I don't think he has a shot at all to be the running back 1 versus Achane, who could pretty easily, if the nuts outcome happens, beat CMC this year, as crazy as that does sound. But at 11, we have Isaiah Pacheco, and he's going to be a bell cow for the Kansas City Chiefs. Last year, Jerick McKinnon was kind of getting faded out. You saw Pacheco take that next step, get 48 targets on the year, which was a huge improvement from his rookie season. I'm just not sold drafting him super high overall because, again, improvement is great as a pass catcher, but that's last season when they weren't really throwing the ball quite as efficiently. Now they have Rashee Rice. Now they have Xavier Worthy. Now they have Hollywood Brown. So I'm just a little worried if that receiving game usage will continue to trend up or if they'll throw the ball to, those 3 receivers I mentioned plus Travis Kelce. So I just worry that Pacheco isn't a fantastic route runner deep down the field. So he may get left out and he may not get those receptions that he needs to be a fantastic fantasy back. Plus, you're saying, okay, but they're going to get in the red zone. The Chiefs actually pass the ball at a very high rate inside the 5 and 10 yard line or in the red zone in general. So it's not as good of a situation as it does seem on paper. But I'm still fine drafting him, and I think he is a good value as a low-end RB1. But like ESPN, where he's going in the middle of the second round, I'm just not touching him there. But I will round things off with Rachaad White. I think he is a fantastic all-around 3-down back. But the issue with him is you have that efficiency. 3.6 yards per carry is very bad. That said, I think he is still young. He can still improve. All he needs to do is get a little better in that aspect. He had 70 targets last year. I think that he is just such a safe floor with that possibility. And if he gets better as a runner, as long as the Buccaneers are pretty similar to last year, pretty solid, he has good touchdown upside. He's going to be on the field for a ton of snaps. I really like his floor-ceiling combination. Plus, I'm just not sold on Bucky Irving. I don't anticipate him having a role in year 1 at least. But if you enjoyed these rankings and want to check out my full list, I go all the way down to running back 70. I do top 250 for redraft and dynasty. Check that out for completely free at fftradingroom.com. Go to the premium tab and you'll see under the pricing plans, there is a free 30-day trial. So use that to help with your draft. I'll link that in the comments. First link in the description as well. But if you have any questions about the video, be sure to drop those down below as well. Let's debate. Let's talk. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.